breakfast. Yeah, I'm hungry. You had eggs. She had bacon. He had sausage. What's left for me? Oh, in the cupboard. Yeah, alright, yeah. Pasta, ketchup, poppadoms, Kit Kat. Oh, that looks tasty. Oh, yeah, alright. Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man, at your service. And I've got to hand it to you guys for sticking with me. Bravo. Right. Enough of that silly slapstick stuff. Let's get on with some kind of horrific sort of stuff. So, it's Shocktober and I've been doing this horror-thon thing. I know I'm a bit behind on the film reviews, but you've got a couple coming later, so hey, this is just to tide you over. Now, I got asked a while ago to do my top 10 from horror movies of all time, and if you cast your mind back a few videos, I went, I can't just do that. I will do a top 10 of, not the best films, but they are my particular favourites from each decade. And I did begin with the 30s. I have yet to do the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, what comes next, noughties, and the nowsies. But I'm up to the 90s anyway, and I was going through my little list, because I've done most of these things, and I realised at this camera, I realised about the resurgence of gothic horror in the 90s. So it's a bit of a tip off as to what's going to be in that list. You had Bram Stoker's Dracula, you had Interview with the Vampire, and you had Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, directed by the great lovey darling that is Kenneth Brannagh. I like Kenneth Brannagh. Yeah, Shakespeare a go-go, but I do like the guy, and I think he did a great job with Thor as well. His composer, the film Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I need to get a new tongue stitched in there, came out in 1994. It was reasonably well received, pretty well, did well commercially, but it wasn't any grand, great Shakespeare. It wasn't a blockbuster, because it was very operatic, it was very theatrical, very OTT, very flamboyant. But Brannagh made for a great, Victor Frankenstein. Billowy white shirt, all the gothics, his hair's all curly and long, and then during the big creation scene, he's topless and he's buffed up as well. And it's great, it's exciting stuff. And you had De Niro playing the monster. De Niro had two roles in that, of course. He was also the beggar man that John Cleese, the great John Cleese, is trying to give an inoculation to. And Robert De Niro's going, "You're not putting that in me! You're not putting that in me!" And then stabs the fucking doctor, Dr. Wald something. Now, I've read the book. I've seen all the Frankenstein movies. The book I find, even though I love Gothic literature, and I recognise the importance and the unparalleled brilliance of classics, the book, Mary Shelley's original, Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley's original, The New Prometheus, aka Frankenstein, bored the shit out of me, I'll be honest. I much prefer reading Dracula, and I find a lot of flaws in that too, but no, it's beside the point. But of course, Branagh's version kind of stuck a bit closer to the book than any version beforehand had done, apart from Frankenstein, the True Story, which was the TV movie. Frankenstein, it was a great title, Frankenstein, the True Story. But and that was great. James Mason, Michael Cera's in playing the monster, and David McCallum. Was it David McCallum? No, it wasn't. But anyway, I'm digressing, and as is my wont. And but this stuck very close, except for one thing. It tacked on the ending, which was also the genesis of Bride of Frankenstein. So it brought in Helena Bonham Carter playing the Bride of Frankenstein, which is now De Niro. And it's a gruesome sequence, of course, it's horrible. And the film's got some heart-ripping and some, severed limbs and stuff it's got some bits and bobs in it. But it's not grand horror in the accepted way that modern audiences thought it was going to be. It kind of went very theatrical, the production design was marvellous, sumptuous sets, the camera work was exceptionally good, florid and fluid. There's a little florid, that should be on the box for the DVD and the Blu-ray. Florid and fluid, says Kilt-Man of Kilty channel. But the score is what I'm going to allude to here. Patrick Doyle's score. Patrick Doyle worked with Kenneth Brannagh throughout most of his movies, I do believe, if not all of them. And he's always come up with the goods. Very grandly symphonic, very hugely orchestral. And this definitely harkens back to classical sort of nuance and milieu. The way it's framed, the way it's organised, the way it's presented, and the full bombast of the orchestra. It's very old school, but it's also, you know, there's no school like the old school. So let's get on to the main theme plays a lot throughout the movie. Here's the opening track, and this is called "To Think of a Story." This is obviously alluding to, the Frankenstein story. Now, I've not seen this film for quite some time, bear in mind, but so I might get a few details wrong. But I'm going to watch it again. Turn it up. I love the sound of peril and sort of fatality to this. There is a stark inevitability to what's going to happen. Because obviously, Frankenstein, he will reach a crossroads in life. Should he pursue this endeavour of creating life from lifelessness, from death, basically? Should he? It's morally wrong, religiously it's wrong, academically they're like, you still shouldn't dabble. But, there's no stopping him. Rifling cadavers from their graves. I like the film a lot. I love this powerful music. That pretty much is the main theme. And you'll hear that recurring throughout the entire score in various permutations. It's in an older vernacular, isn't it? The way it's written. There's a bit of the Oneidin line there. Anyone remember that? It looked tastier in the cupboard, Dark, it's brooding. There's a power to it. But it's got like a sort of a grim romance as well. Oh, I do love that. Now let's go on to the creation. Now this will play. This is where he's going to, against everyone's better judgment, he's going to lock himself, in this garret or whatever you call it, which is labyrinthine as well. And he has this. Kenneth Brannagh called it the bollock because it's great. It's a great big scrotum sac hanging from the ceiling, which is full of amniotic fluid, and he's got oscillators and gyroscopes and fucking whatever, So there's stuff going into this thing, and out of it will be birthed Robert De Niro, not looking really good. He's stitched up, and I mean, again, you're not going for the Boris Karloff look. You're going for a more realistic look. Remember Christopher Lee and Hammer's fantastically mounted The Curse of Frankenstein, where they had done him. They couldn't get the rights to the Boris Karloff makeup from Universal Studios, so they had to go a different route. So they went for like a car crash victim. So his face is all fucking stoved in, like one eye's fucking gone, and the other one's all bloodshot, and he's all mangled up. Well, if you've been rifling and stitching together, bodies, well, they're not going to look the best, are they? And that's the same concept really in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. De Niro does look atrocious. He's a fucking mess. But he's very sympathetic. The monster normally is a sympathetic creation. He doesn't want to be a monster. He's not a monster. It's just circumstances have thrust him into, he's an outsider. He's an outcast. If he wants to survive, if he wants to find love, he's got to fight to get it. And it is horrific the way the story transpires. And it's upsetting. You see both sides. You see how, in this version, how Victor Frankenstein completely goes, oh shit, what the hell have I done here? This was a big mistake. I always found that really daft in the book, to be honest. Like, he spends all his fucking life, his obsession to create, life from death, and then finally does it. And in the book, the the monster's good looking. It's an Adonis. You know, it looks good. It's not mangled up. Like, he's done a really good job on it. And he takes one look and his mind snaps. How can I have done this? It's an abomination. The fuck you on? You've just spent your fucking life trying to build this thing, and now the second you see it, you turn your back on it. I always thought that was a bit fucking silly, going a bit too far. But then again, Gothic literature is full of, you know, these emotional outbursts and, you know, moral conundrums and, you know, these split-second decisions. And it's, well, that's how the story goes. So anyway, let's go for the creation with the great big bulging bollock sack. This is good. It's a gorgeous dynamic track. It's an action cue. He's running around, Kenneth Brannagh, topless, pulling levers and, you know, chains and getting things going, sliding, like dancing on ice across the floor. Fierce momentum to it. He's driven to do this now. This fucking heaving scrotum is like just it's breathing. Brannagh does well. To be honest, I'd like to see Brannagh in more movies in this sort of dynamic role. I don't think he's doing stuff now, is he? I think he's just directing and stage stuff. With the strings, and then bass into it, percussion. Given his muscular drive, because it is about the body. The whole story is about the body, the corruption of the soul, corruption of the mind, but the body being evil, stitched to evil. Awesome. Well, while we're on, let's move on to something else. Let's go on to... because they will meet again. Obviously, he abandons the monster, and the monster then sadly gets harassed and driven out of town. Of course, he will meet... It's Ian Holm in this version, isn't it? Or is it? Is it Ian Holm who plays the blind hermit? Shit, can't remember. It's been years since I've seen it. And you know, and he'll learn that someone actually does like him. He watches the family from, you know, the barn. He studies the family and he learns love. You know, how love should be, how humanity should be. But of course, that all goes tits up as well. He gets driven out again, and he realises that his creator is the one who's caused all his fucking problems. And he will have a meeting with Victor up in the mountains in a big cave, and it's moving stuff, definitely is. So let's go on to that. That should be this, called Yes I Speak, because obviously Frankenstein can't believe that what he's done. That there is intelligence there, and there is a spirit, there is pity, there is a soul, but there's also rage, anger, and the need for, well, a justification for why am I here? What am I supposed to do? You've given me life and then you abandon me. Well, I've had no education. What the hell do you expect me to do? Although the monster does become educated. So this is Patrick Doyle winding back into the plaintive, forlorn aspects of a twisted relationship. Which is beautifully scarred by tragedy and, you know, a complete failure of the meeting of the minds. It does harken back to the older style of movie making in terms of the actual film itself and the score. The score is very, as I said before, very old school, grandly symphonic. And, you know, a far cry from the incessant drone that you get from the likes of Hans Zimmer now. Let me not get drawn into a debate on Hans Zimmer again. I do like Hans Zimmer, but I do think that he's one of the reasons why a lot of movie music is so bland, boring, generic and droning. There's no craftsmanship, there's no art to it anymore. Well, there is for some people, like I know. I'd love to get a mask of the... Do you know what? In my collection of masks, I do not have a single Frankenstein's monster mask. Not one. Ow! Got his hand now. I'd love the Boris Karloff one. You can get it, but there are issues with some of them, so and you've got to get the right one, you know. And you could get the Christopher Lee version, but it's hard to find that now. And I would love to get the Robert De Niro version as well. It's out there, it does exist, but gotta find it, you know. Yeah. Of course, the monster he'll be driven to do deeds of, you know, cruelty and murder. It's revenge, you know. He wants a mate, so he wants Victor to create a mate for him because he's lonely. And if Victor won't do it, then I'm going to drive you to do it. I'll start killing all those nearest and dearest to you. Which you will. Let's go for it. So, Elizabeth is played by Helena Bonham Carter. Let me get this straight. She's Victor's new wife. On his wedding night, the monster breaks in and rips her heart out. He then forces Victor to reanimate her, but as a bride for him. Have I got that right? I think I have. And of course, once she's created, she's just like Elsa Lanchester, she doesn't want nothing to do with that bloody creature. And she picks up like a fuel-filled lantern and goes and breaks it on over her head, engulfs herself in flames, and fucking legs it through this, you know, through the rooms and the halls of this chateau, and leaps out of a window. So endeth that romance, as so many do end in flames. Yeah, this is called She's Beautiful, and that's De Niro's in. She's beautiful. In his stitched up, ripped up, hacked up face. I'm sure this gets to like a crescendo here. It's quite a horrible scene actually as well. How Doyle weaves a lyrical, quieter, softer, forlorn piece. A lot of romanticism is in there, and then he can drive in with like pounding percussion and a really, you know, stark, bombastic sort of momentum, a bravura exercise in fury and action. It's a lovely score, and score lovers out there, if you haven't already got it, I recommend that you get it. It's a beautiful listen. Divorced from the movie, it's still, you know, a wonderfully rich and multi-textured experience. there's darkness to it. Arguably there's more horror and darkness to the score than there is to the film itself. I know there's heart ripping and surgery, murders. I know, and there's a monster. He's not a monster, is he? But and some great imagery, some great gothic imagery to it. But it shies away from the real darker, nastier aspects that are often utilised by the Frankenstein stories when translated to movie. There's a lot more sympathy evoked for the monster. When De Niro, when it all goes wrong, De Niro runs off after he's met the hermit and all that. Well, not a hermit, he's got a bloody family. In the original, it's a fucking hermit, but and he watches the family. When he gets seen and introduced to they go crazy, and he runs off. It's all gone horribly wrong, and you see De Niro in the woods, and he's got a great coat. It's which he's found from all the people who are dying of the plague. He gets his plague jacket off someone, and he's wearing a great big frock coat with a huge collar on it, all leather. It's brilliant. I'd love to get one of them. And not festooned with plague, of course, but and he's just crumpled up and he's sobbing. You know what? De Niro can go OTT. We know that. De Niro can go too far sometimes, or he can just phone things in. Recently in Joker, he's magnificent. He's giving heart and soul to a pivotal but supporting cast member. Pivotal in the story, but only relatively little screen time, but impactful. And but in this, emoting through that mask of prosthetics, does a brilliant job, a really brilliant job. I've pretty much reviewed the movie now, haven't I? Whereas Coppola doing Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is a colourful, flamboyant, dark, brooding, often very funny, but brilliantly, I don't know, it's proper spooky. There you are. I was saying about quotes on the boxes or the posters of movies. You don't want that one. From Kilt-Man, from YouTube channel. It's proper spooky. It is. It's eerie. It's got great qualities to it. But again, it shies back. Yes, there's decapitations and bloodletting and horrific monsters. You've seen, I've got the mask of the wolf demon, the wolf monster that he is. And, there's some great stuff in there. But again, it's a gothic horror retold flamboyantly for a modern audience. This sort of goes hand in hand with that to a degree. Gothic horror retold for a modern audience, but done in an old-fashioned, very stately theatrical manner. The dialogue is very rich and fruity. It's Brannagh. It's Brannagh for you, And again, they kind of remove the really nastier elements from it. Listen to this, it's broad, it's rich. See, you've got a variation on that main theme again. As I say in the film, I've covered the film a lot, so I may as well carry on. The production design, the sets, the location wear, all beautiful. I would say that maybe the camera wear, I've been impressed by the camera wear, but the editing, it's quite fast cut in a lot of places, so scenes are very short. I remember a lot of it was I want to see more of this. I want to explore this set a bit more. I mean, his home, Frankenstein's home out by Lake Geneva, is just so gorgeous, and yet the camera doesn't linger on anything in it. There you go, folks. That was some grand old gothic, soundscaping, courtesy of your kilted guru of Grand Guignol. So, folks, I'll be back later with a review of this. You see that? Yes, Alice, Sweet Alice, aka Communion, as I knew it when I grew up with it, also known as Holy Terror. We'll be covering that at length. It's a great proto-stalker slash movie, and it's got some nasty bits in it, but it's good fun. It's a serious movie, but I'll save that for next time. Guys, if you're creating monsters, try to have a bit of heart and compassion for them. Don't just abandon them. You know, a monster isn't just for creation purposes, it's for life. And I'm going to see you all in the next gothic thunderstorm. Later! It's alive! Alive!